I don't like how people talk about shadow functions. Concept, thought, like math. It's not meant for that. If we're just totally in a theoretical place where we're just sort of like trying to understand how the math works out. Oh, I have 6th function as my critical parent. Oh, you mean like the 5th function is like the first one? Oh, that's my demon function. It's like, okay, time out. What does it mean to have a function that is associated with the archetype of a demon?
Hey, welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge. I have a question for you, Joel.
Yes.
When was the first time that you realized that you were not aware of everything going on inside of your mind?
The first time I was aware that I noticed that I was not aware of everything going on in my mind.
Correct. Or you realized that there was material inside of your mind that snuck up on you, or that you were not fully conscious of everything inside of you.
I think it was when I gained theory of mind.
Early, huh?
I think I remember walking at my grandparents' house. Maybe I was like 7 or 8 on this rock wall behind their house. And my cousins were over. It was a big family event or something. There were a lot of people around, but I had wandered off from play by myself. And I was walking along this wall, and I all of a sudden had this perspective, like this moment of realization. I was thinking about my cousin Amanda, who was like 3 months older than me. And I had this realization that her experience was different than my experience. Like I had this moment where I went, wait a minute, I'm having a unique experience that's just mine, that I'm the only one that has this perspective. I'm the only one that can see through my own eyes. I didn't have language or words that I can remember, but I remember this sense of knowing. I remember this so clearly. Even now, I reflect on it. And I remember thinking, that means I have a unique perspective of the world. I have a unique understanding of things, and not everybody's like me. That's really interesting. Like that was probably where I don't know at the time if I had the thought that there was unconscious material, but I'd never had that thought before. And so I thought, oh, there's other things I probably am not aware of. If I just had this awareness, that's interesting. I wonder if there's other things I would also find out and become aware of over time. Like I think it started the hunt to see things that were hidden inside of my own sense of self. So I think that's probably where it was probably not the most sophisticated. Maybe you're asking more specific. I didn't know you were going to ask me that question, so I didn't have anything ready. So I'll tell you the first thing that comes to me. I think that's the moment that entered into my psyche. I think so.
I feel like it was an awareness over time for me. I think it took multiple moments of going, why did I do that?
What was the question again?
When you first realized that you were not aware of everything going on inside of your own mind.
I would say I would say I had an awareness because my parents told me I had awareness. They said there are spiritual entities trying to get into your mind. I mean, I was really little, like 3 or 4. You know, I'm like really little. Like, make sure like you're careful. There's demons and angels and God, and so make sure you're with God and don't allow bad thoughts to form because demons can get a hold of that. Learn this in Sunday school. So I would actually say, if we're talking about that idea, I would say I got introduced to those ideas very young. Very young, that your mind is not 100% yours. You're not in control of all of it. In fact, if you don't stay in control of all of it and you go into like meditation or you allow your mind to be empty, that's how demons will take root in your mentality. Like if you don't have a thing you're thinking and you're conscious of, if you're unconscious or you're meditative or your brain is empty or you empty your mind, that's how demons get in there. And I can't tell you, that was probably from as early as I can remember. Was that
a disturbing thought to you? Like when it was first introduced, did you
go... God's got me covered. No, okay. Of course not. I was never scared. I was like, oh, well, I'm a child of God, so he's not going to let that happen to me. As long as I obey and as long as I had all these frameworks, as long as I pray and I'm attuned to that and I've accepted him and his views and all this, so I'm safe, I'm covered.
So you didn't think it was going to happen because you were taking right action. You had the right relationship with God, so you were never going to have your mind be taken over.
But if I did get off the right relationship, if I got off track, then that's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
Satan or demons are going to take possession of your mind and you'll be confused and you'll be strung on drugs and in a gutter somewhere. Like, the whole story,
Right.
like that's the start is, and then you're like, in a rescue mission in some big city somewhere with needles in your arm.
Right.
That's like,
It goes slippery slope really fast
it
on
does,
those, doesn't it?
It does.
It's like play Dungeons and Dragons within 6 months, like you're walking around at McDonald's, like talking to yourself.
Yeah, my dad had in the 1980s, Dungeons and Dragons was a huge deal, and he was definitely against it, and he was on a radio program in the Pittsburgh area, and he would record these things like, don't let your kids play this. This is how their minds get hijacked, and demons can use this game to try to hijack and take over your children. Blah 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 blah. This is like a big thing.
That was during the Satanic Panic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was all part of that. I think so. The first time I was aware that there was something going on inside my brain, or I became like a sort of tuned into this idea that there was material inside of my brain that I wasn't fully aware of, was in first grade when was it first grade? Or no, it was kindergarten. It was actually kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I was playing recess, or I was out playing recess, and a kid sat on me and I couldn't breathe. He like sat on me for a long time. It felt like an eternity. He was a much bigger kid than I was. And so I bit him. I bit him hard to get him off of my body. So of course, he went and told the recess.
Told the fuzz.
He went and told that's right, the popo. And then went and told the fuzz. And when they asked me about it, I had to admit that I had bit him, but I didn't think that they would believe the real reason why I bit him, which was that I couldn't breathe. And so it was actually kind of a panicked moment for me.
Yeah.
So I lied, and I lied egregiously. I said he was trying to touch my pants, right? Which was a really terrible accusation. But I thought it was the only thing that they would take seriously.
Yeah.
Now in retrospect, I realize it was like a false sexual assault accusation that I did when I was like 4 or 5 years old, because I started kindergarten at 4.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, horrified by the idea. But I ended up getting suspended from school for 3 whole days, which is kind of outrageous for a kindergartner.
Because you lied?
No, because I bit him.
Oh.
Yeah. Nobody knew I lied. I didn't fess up to that until many years later. I think I was a teenager when I told my parents. My parents still believed that I was like defending myself against an assault up until the time I was a teenager. I kept that a total lie. I kept that lie preserved for a very long time.
That didn't get you out of trouble? Mm-mm. Like, if he tried to touch you, biting him?
Mm-mm. Well, he said no. He said he didn't, because it was true. He didn't. And so it was a he said, she said on the playground. And this is like 1982, right?
Yeah.
And so
Before
anyway,
the believe all women hashtag.
Yeah, that's right.
Now you'd have won.
I would have,
They'd
but
be like, she's right.
It was for the best that I didn't, because I lied egregiously, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of it's like the whole thing was awful. The whole situation was not good. But of course I hope that he wasn't scarred for life, that this had happened to him.
It was kind of a jerk move you did.
Oh, it was a terrible move. It was awful, but
Lying like that.
I didn't think that because it wasn't an assault. It was just clumsiness. He was a kid like me. He was probably 5 years old. He didn't know that sitting on top of me would, make it so I couldn't breathe. He didn't understand how much bigger than me he was. He was like, we're all just kind of figuring life out at 4 and 5 years old. So it's really not, it's a no blame situation.
Yeah.
But I was responsible. So anyway, I got suspended for 3 days, which everybody has at the time even said, that's a long time to be suspended as a kindergartner. It was 3 whole days. So when I got home, my parents, my discipline, my punishment was that I couldn't leave my bed for those 3 days. As in, like, I had to lay in bed and think about what I did for 3 whole days, even though they were on my side, even though they thought that I was, that was valid what I did because of the situation. They still felt like I should really think about it.
What did your mom suggest you should have done instead?
There was no other suggestions. There was just, I got in trouble, so I needed to lay in bed for 3 days and think about what I did. So
this is a much different time.
This is a totally different time.
Listening right now, you're like baffled and confused that you got punished for this.
It's fine. Well, but I should have.
Just a different, you should have, but what the adults knew at the time, it's like, that's a concern.
Yeah.
That they had, it was false information.
Correct.
But still, let's say that was true. I'm still like, that's a weird way to play that. But this is 1982.
Yeah.
a very different time period in
Yes.
American history.
Yeah.
So
but
don't think that things were like they are now.
That's neither here nor there. It
Yeah.
karmically worked out. So
Yes.
the point of
I'm
all
sorry,
of
I
this.
just hung up on all this. Go ahead, keep going.
The point of all of this is that I did lay there and think about it. I laid there and thought about it for like 3 whole days.
Yeah.
And the question that kept coming up for me was, why did I lie? Why did I lie? Why did I lie? I was just laying there just going like, why did I lie? Why didn't I just say the truth? Why did I think nobody would believe me? And where did the lie come from? And I think it was the very first time that I thought, there's stuff in there that I'm not aware of. There's stuff in there that's like that's almost like acting on its own volition. Now, I didn't have that language at 5 years old, but there was like this sense that there's something happening that I don't get to see all of it. And sometimes it just does. Sometimes it happens to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I think after that awareness over time, you know, through my teenage years, I would watch myself do things that I was like, wait, where did that come from? Like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why is that person saying that? Right. I watch other people lie and I'd be like, why are they doing that? Like, what is their, not even so much like what is their intention and motivation, but more like how are they unaware of it?
Yeah.
How are they unaware of the fact that this is emerging from them? And then I started realizing that sometimes people are lying without realizing it at all.
Yeah.
Like they're not doing it intentionally. They're unaware of their own truths. And so I would say that by the time I was a teenager, I was highly aware of it, but it was like kind of a slow process over time of becoming more attuned to this idea that there is stuff inside of my mind that is not accessible to me, and I'm not alone. Like there's stuff in there that that is not accessible to anyone. And I find that to be really fascinating because even though I think we all know that we have parts of ourselves, like we understand that on a theoretical level, I don't know if we behave as if this is a reality. I don't know if we behave taking the full weight of the concept that there is stuff going on inside of our mind that we are unaware of and is influencing us.
Well, and as you're talking, what I'm realizing is I got good outside of what you're talking about, the unconscious or whatever, like this part of myself that my faith background gave me like some concept of, even very little. Like there's demons and God and
doorways in there that
they're
they
all
can
trying to get
into
your brain,
Yeah.
right? And like, you know, there's even like I can't remember the verse in the Bible. It's talking about, you know, with a renewed mind, you enter the world. I think it's the Apostle Paul wrote about having a renewed mind. And that was a phrase my parents would use as like all the time when I was a kid. And they were working with youth, like in youth ministry. So a lot of the stuff was orientated to be older than me or focused on, you know, teenagers, high schoolers.
Right.
And here at like 5 years old, I'm picking up a lot of stuff that's for older kids.
Right.
So that's also skewing my experience. But as you're talking outside of that, I'm realizing, wait a minute, I did start to track what was motivating me unconsciously. Like, wait, I did that. And I started to tune into my motivation, other people's motivation. And I would have said, before I knew about type and the unconscious and the shadow, I would have said, no, I'm very aware of all that. On the channel of introverted feeling or authenticity, as ENFP preferences, I'm very aware of what's going on inside for my motivations. And then I've started to notice other people's motivations. And I would trust them or not trust them based on what I patterned to be their motive. Right?
Yeah.
The same thing with myself. So I would have reported, not knowing shadow, if you asked me that question 20 years ago, oh, I don't have any, like I've had that concept most of my life. I know what's going on for people unconsciously, blah, 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 blah. But now that I'm with you and I know type and all this, with you with ENTP preferences, I am not tracking the thought processes and the belief systems, like how people code beliefs like you are. You ask me that, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I know their motivation and kind of what's driving them, but I don't know their thought process necessarily. I could guess, but it's a bigger guess than my tracking of the motivation. So that makes me think that we probably all believe we're doing this more than we are. And we're more aware of what's driving, like whether it's thought or emotion or authentic, you know, behavior or motivation, whatever this is, we probably all have a version of a channel that we are paying attention to that we would report without knowledge to say, no, I know I had that very young and I'm tracking all the time, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that's our unconscious. I just think that's our introverted process that we're the most focused on. We each have one.
Yeah.
Right. And mine happens to be introverted feeling, authenticity. The closest available to you is introverted thinking, accuracy. Let's say an ENFJ, the closest introverted process is introverted intuition. Right. And then, you know, an ESTJ, introverted sensing would be the closest introverted process to them. So we could mistake that for unconscious material. Our inner processes is not unconscious. It's just inner process.
Correct.
We might have to go on the hunt for it.
Yes.
And I think those things get conflated a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I would agree with that.
I don't know if that's valuable, what I just said, but
no,
it was an idea I had. Hopefully it adds to the conversation.
It's the thing that's emerging for me right now is when we become aware of this concept theoretically, we don't take into account the weight of what we're actually saying, which is that there are things going on in my mind that I am unaware of and are influencing me towards behaviors and actions and thoughts and speech and all sorts of stuff that I might even watch and not go, that's coming from an unknown place.
Yeah.
And so even though, and I think the reason why I asked how young you were is I bet a lot of people have a story like that. A lot of people have something that kind of tipped them off real young.
Yeah.
That maybe I don't see all of this. And there was probably a growing awareness through, teenage years or 20 something, years where you're kind of like, yeah, I guess there is stuff. And what about that other person? And what's going on for them?
Yeah.
But I think there is a real shock point when it lands inside of us that there is stuff happening that is jerking my chain from the shadows.
Yes.
And I might have no idea how many moments in my life, how many massive weighty choices, how much of my relationships and my all the things that are the construction of my life, how much of that is influenced from darker places, and I don't mean dark as in evil, I mean just stuff I can't see.
Shadowy. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're watching or listening right now, we'd love to hear, when did you first become aware of this in your life? In the comments, either below this episode, on our site, or on YouTube, or somewhere, if you can make a comment or give us some feedback, where would you say, or what age would you say, and what was the experience? Maybe just create a little story from that. It doesn't have to be long, but just tell us, what age were you when you discovered there's things driving your mind you were unaware of? How old were you? What was going on for you in your life? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so I think that one of the biggest gifts that type has given me isn't an awareness of my personality type and my conscious functions, right? What John Beebe would call the ego-syntonic functions, the mental processes that I primarily use. That's all been a massive gift. So I don't want to underplay any of that. That's all been incredible, understanding I lead with intuition, understanding I supplement it with thinking, all that's been great. But I would say that the greatest gift that I probably would not have been able to to access myself is a reflection back of just how much of my life has been influenced by quote unquote unseen forces within. And the moment of recognition and going, oh my gosh, how much of myself has been jerked around by myself, right? Just because I didn't have a finger on the pulse of it, just because I didn't have a direct, a direct access point. How much of that has been influencing my behavior? And the answer is an uncomfortable amount. Right? An uncomfortable amount of my choices, an uncomfortable amount of the things that I do and see and think and all that stuff, particularly from the past, was influenced by things that had been implanted in me from a very young age that I didn't know were not my authentic, my honest thoughts. Socialization and the communication to me about how I'm expected to behave. Things that happened to me that I never made peace with. The beliefs about myself that are actually just patently untrue, right? I have beliefs about myself and how I'd behave. The things that I've said about who I am my entire life that I'm I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never do that. And then I find myself doing it and I'm wait a minute, didn't I just spend 10 years claiming to never, I would never do that? And then why am I doing it? So beliefs about myself that are just totally inaccurate because I'm only aware of the surface stuff, and on the surface, none of that part of me would never do those things. Yeah. But those are not the parts of me that showed up in the moment that I did, right? Then I did do the thing that I claimed I would never do. So I think this is it's hard to understate the gift it is to point to unseen material from within, in how much power it gives us to be able to make different choices, to be able to diagnose why we're doing things that undermine ourselves and our happiness. Like, why, when I have an unbelievable experience, do I all of a sudden find myself being grumpy? Why do I undermine my own happiness, or why do I take actions that might jeopardize all of the work I've poured into something, or all of the things that drag me to hell, you know? Like, why would I do that? And it's like, because what I see is not the full picture.
Yes. I think one way people can get a glimpse of this in their own life, not everybody, but there's somebody watching or listening right now, you're going to resonate with what I'm about to say very deeply. You have created, and maybe you're on the 5th or 6th version of this, but you have created the same romantic relationship dynamic over and over and over again with a new person, and you find yourself back yet again. How did I get back to this, quote unquote, whatever the dynamic is, yet again? What is going on? I thought I made a quote unquote different choice this time. Mm-hmm. And I think it speaks to how much our unconscious, this is an easy one. I think some people can find themselves in this, going, this is like my 5th relationship in 20 years. And here the pattern holds that it's this type of person. It usually starts this way. It goes this way. It ends this way. How do I keep recreating this in my life? We even did an episode about the Imago relationship a long time ago, talking about this, where we often will create a relationship to work out some unconscious material or issue in our life, usually parental, usually something with our parents or our family dynamic. We'll create this relationship with a partner over and over again to work out some issue. We never work out the issue, so we keep recreating the situation, hoping the next one will work it out, right? We'll get over this unconscious material without being aware that we're even doing this.
Yes, and I just realized as you were talking that an Imago refers back to the word image.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this when we recorded the podcast, originally, how many years ago? Yeah, but I just realized, well, what is a complex?
Yes.
I've since learned a complex is an archetype or an image that is at the center of a bunch of organized, unprocessed material. So an Imago relationship is basically, another way they could have said it is a relationship built around a complex.
Yeah.
And so your complex is playing this out over and over and over again until you unravel the complex.
Yeah.
Right. So if you found yourself in the same relationship, and it might not even be a terrible relationship, it's just something that's like, no matter who I choose, we always end up fighting about this thing. Like, it's like, well, that's a big eat at Joe's sign, right? A big like fluorescent arrow pointing to a bunch of stuff that person will never be able to work. They'll never be able to process that material to you, but you're looking for people who will mirror it back.
Yeah.
You keep seeking the most perfect mirror. So this complex will get some attention, and you'll process the unprocessed material that's just waiting for you to go like, hey, this is, all those other unprocessed memories that don't mean anything. Well, this one did. So you're going to have to remember. You're going to have to like sit with the discomfort. You're going to have to deal with the emotions that got brought up and all the beliefs that were created and all the patterns you created around this. You're going to have to do it.
What most people do is they just swap out the partner and hope the next one's going to fix it.
That's right.
Because it's the work here that often has to be done. Now, I'm not saying that partnerships can't be swapped out if it's not working out, clearly. But that's usually the go-to. It's like, well, let me get a different person and that'll fix it. And then you recreate the same thing over again.
I think the phrase you used, swapped out, is actually the relevant piece. Yeah. Actually, we probably shouldn't be swapping out partners. We should be finding people we want to spend our lives with, not just swapping them out.
That's why I have a problem with the word partner. It's so swappable. It's such a neutral term.
I know. When did we just start using the word partner as opposed to I know that people don't like the word girlfriend, boyfriend because it's so infantilizing. But
like I call you my wife.
Correct. Right.
And it's harder to swap out a wife than it is a partner, I think.
Well, and you're also my business partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be easy to swap out a wife or a husband.
No, I said it's harder to swap out a wife than it is a partner. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it should be. It's literally the same functional, but the word seems like it carries more weight. Partner seems more neutralized, and it could mean, I don't know. It means I have a personal whatever against it. I know why it's there, but
I think it should only be used when there's no other phrase that can be used. Does that make sense? Like if you're married, go ahead and just say husband and wife. Like you don't have to use partner. Like, but if it's like a bit of an ambiguous relationship, or there's like things in there that are less defined or whatever, then partner makes sense. But it's like if you actually are married to the person, just go ahead and own it. Just go ahead and own that they're your they're your
But
husband
what if
or
I want
wife.
to swap them out? That's the problem.
Yeah, that's right. It's not swappable.
This is why I use y'all, because there's really no good word for you guys or youins or yins or
Yeah.
So I just go y'all because it's a southern word. I figure as an American I get away with it.
That's how everybody knows you're from Pittsburgh.
That's right.
It's because you actually know the word yins exists.
I don't use it. Everybody I grew up with did, but I never did.
So to go back to the concept of the unseen material in the darker spaces and the recesses of our mind, there's and the concept of the Imago relationship, that's actually a really good, I think, sort of not analogy, not metaphor, but example. I guess the word is example. I never use examples, so I was like, is it an analogy? No, this one's an actual example. That's an example of what our unconscious mind does to us all the time, actually.
Yeah.
It seeks mirrors. It's looking for a perfect mirror to reflect something back so that we will be able to get to material that is, we're almost by definition blind to ourselves. And that's one of the reasons why Jungian psychology, and as an offshoot, typology, right? Typology systems that are born from Jung's work, that's one of their greatest gifts. And it feels like that aspect ends up becoming more of a parlor trick than a real Damascene come to Jesus moment. As in, tell me my shadow functions. Oh, what does it mean? Like, oh, I have 6 function as my critical parent. Oh, that's my demon function. It's like, okay, time out. What does it mean to have a function that is associated with the archetype of a demon?
Yeah.
Right? Like, take a minute to think about that.
So you're saying this isn't BuzzFeed quiz territory. Like, what's your demon function? Quick quiz. This is like real stuff you're talking about.
This is like serious life-changing material if you really saturate in it. If you really let the information not just be an interesting sort of
curiosity.
Not just a curiosity, but more filleting out systems and more like trying to figure out the math of it all. If you place this too much in the math realm and the algorithm and the rubric and the how does that work and how do I figure out my 5th function and what does that mean for it to be opposing personality? It's like if you take a minute to understand what's actually being said here, you realize that you're finding the Rosetta Stone of inner work. You're finding the translation component, the on-ramp to things that have been encouraging you to behave in ways that you find baffling for maybe decades of your life.
Yeah.
It is such a flashlight into the soul. And it's such a service. It's such a service. Because by definition, we can't see what's deep down in there. We can't see into our unconscious without a reflection back, right? It's by definition something we cannot directly, we can't directly access it ourselves. We have to have a mirror. We have to have somebody else reflecting it back to ourselves. But other people are doing the same thing to us. And so is that a reflection back? Is that person an actual mirror or are they projecting their stuff onto me? Is that my stuff or is that theirs? And am I reflecting their stuff back to them or am I projecting my stuff onto them? Like it gets really complicated if you've got 2 people who are just kind of trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And of course, this is why like the whole field of, therapy exists, because then you've got somebody who can like hang there and is their job, whether or not they do it perfectly, the job of a therapist or a counselor or, a coach or whatever is to reflect things back to you without inserting themselves into the reflection. That's sort of their job. I mean, if you could kind of pare it down to the core competency of somebody in those kinds of mental health professions, it's to reflect your stuff back to you without inserting themselves into it. That said, I mean, not everybody seeks therapy. Not everybody's doing all of that. So this is a tool that goes, so for those of you who are not going to go to a therapist or a counselor or whatever, like for those of you who are not going to seek that, why don't we just do a tool? But the challenge is that you have to rest into the weight of what you're holding with this tool. You can't devalue it. You can't turn it into math, right?
Well, what happens if you do? Because I think there are people that have, so what's the downside?
Well,
you just miss out. I mean, you're not going to like hurt anything.
I mean, you might disqualify the tool in other people's minds because you're presenting something that's basically inert at that point, right? It's like kind of like having a grand piano and only playing like one or two keys. It's like, yep, it makes noise. You're right.
Yeah.
But if you're really going to communicate the beauty of the tool, you have to master it and you have to understand what it's capable of. And I would say that Jungian psychology and particularly, John Beebe's 8-function model is my favorite way of doing it. But regardless, just understanding and acknowledging and recognizing that there are parts of ourselves that we can't personally access all on our own. And that doesn't mean, I think when we think that, we go, well, then those parts aren't, if those parts were making me act a certain way, I'd notice, right? I'd see it. So those parts must be there, but they're not really relevant. And that's the danger, right? The danger is going like, well, I would notice if those parts were making me behave in a way I didn't want to behave. And yet when we behave in ways we don't want to behave, or when we have limiting beliefs, or when we have undermining, thoughts or behaviors, or we have something that sneaks up on us and all of a sudden we're in this like horrific mood or whatever, we don't think things like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's that part of me that I can't access myself. We go, oh, I'm in a terrible mood, or man, I just can't shake this thought, or like I wasn't myself. That's one of my favorites. Oh, I just wasn't myself. And it's like, oh no, you totally were yourself. And in fact, you were just given a gift because now you can go introduce yourself to that part of who you are. So I guess I'm just kind of going on about how powerful I think this tool really is, and how easy it is to overlook what we're sitting on.
Yes. So we're talking about shadow material in our psyche or our unconscious, our minds. And one of the best ways to get to that is to be triggered. If somebody says something that triggers me, most likely I'm getting an experience of something that I wasn't aware of. All of a sudden now I'm aware of it, of how I feel about it. When we talk about personality type, everybody, your unique personality tells you or gives you a map of the shadow. So it's not that, it just you just get access to the shadow. You still have to find the shadow material. But when shadow material surfaces for everybody, if we have the personality map in front of us, now we know where to look. We can go, oh, that's probably coming from this part of me. Mm-hmm. That's probably an extroverted part of me. That's probably an introverted part of me. That's probably this, trickster energy kicking up and trying to put me in a double bind by making me damned if I do, damned if I don't. Like you can spot the energies at play if you have a map for how it affects your personality. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's important that we don't conflate that our shadow functions of personality are our shadow. Mm-mm. That's just a map to maybe what's going on. We still have material that was just unconscious for us. And I think that we don't want to conflate those two things either.
You also don't want to conflate your first 4 functions with your ego.
Right.
Even though they're called ego-syntonic, they're not your full ego. There's more that we're aware of than our first 4 functions can,
fair enough,
communicate or be filtered through.
Yeah.
John Beebe calls it self with a lowercase s.
Yes.
And there's a lot more in there than just, I guess we can try to shoehorn everything through the lens of our first 4 functions, but I think it's a bit clumsy. And so there's more to our ego than our first 4 functions, and there's more to our shadow than the ego dystonic 4 functions for sure.
Yeah, we just had him on it was Jung's 150th birthday. So we did a special event for all of our profiler training students and some of our other high level, higher end students and stuff that are in some of our advanced classes. So John was on there and he was talking about this idea of, I think he called it a psychoid.
Mm-hmm. That was a cool concept.
He was talking about this part of ourselves that, to your point, there's things outside of our personality type and that may not be mapped with those 8 functions. He was talking about the psychoid, which is not our unconscious. It's not our conscious. It's the space between that.
Yeah.
Almost like it's more like the nervous system itself, if you will.
Well, it made me think actually more of like fascia or tendons or the centerpiece between two things that connect.
Yeah.
And it's a place that's, I think you used the phrase, it's a liminal space.
Yes.
And it doesn't fit quite in either area.
Well, it's got its own kind of sense of Like this is where these are the mysteries of the world that don't really dip into the unconscious that I make aware, or what I'm dealing with like in an ego way. It's other things that are running, kind of like these synchronicities and the ways we just have a sense of somebody's, almost their energy system. I think the kids call it the aura, right? People are, it's kind of a woo-woo term that I hear a lot of people using is kind of like how they read someone's energy signature. They'll say that's somebody's aura. And I think that's how they mean it. It's not like an aura how I would know it, but aura is like this person's signature is kind of like this.
Yeah.
I think they're speaking to obviously their personality, how they're wired, how they show up, but I think there's a little bit of a speaking to that psychoid, like how does this energy system show up in front of me? And how do I see the energy that's in front of me in its own way?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
which I think is an interesting concept.
It's a super fascinating concept. I can't speak too much on it because I'm still doing research around the concept, but it was a really fascinating idea.
You could speak to it without doing research.
Right. Actually, I'm supposed to be doing that. I'm actually supposed to be speaking on subjects that I don't have a lot of research. Well, I'll say this. Maybe I haven't tracked it to my own personal experiences enough. Maybe I should say that. How
could we make this more personal? Should we share a story? Should we think about somebody else's story? How could we make this more...
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to assert an idea.
Okay.
I don't think people should learn about shadow functions until they're ready to feel the full weight of them.
What does feeling the full weight of a shadow function mean?
Everything I've said up until now in the podcast. Like recognizing that we are talking about something that is game changing. Recognizing that we are like we're entering terrain that will illuminate and shine a light on things that are effectively the mysteries of your life.
Okay.
And so I think that when people discover the 8-function model or the shadow functions, not that you can't know what the 8-function model is, but I think when somebody goes, no, I understand the shadow functions because I get that they're archetypes and I understand what an archetype is. Like I almost feel like if we're introduced to the idea before we are ready to integrate it, we are then laying tracks for how we're going to think about it that extends the timeline of when it will have its power. Meaning that if I don't understand something, but I think I understand it, it actually almost becomes worse.
Okay.
Does that track? It's like, I understand the 8-function model. I get that there's archetypes. I 100% understand the archetypes. I get what an archetype is. I understand what a complex is. Like concept, thought, like math. If we're just totally in a theoretical place where we're just sort of like trying to understand how the math works out and, oh, you mean like the 5th function's like the first one, but it goes in a different direction, like we're just still working it out in that way. But we're not ready to hear how a function, or not really how the function itself is operating inside of us, but what it's pointing to, like the underneath of it all. And we're not ready to sit with that and go, oh, okay, yes, that is totally something I'm doing. Or yes, that explains that thing. Okay. And like almost have it hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Like then you might actually be doing a disservice to yourself because it is such a powerful tool and you might overlook it later.
Yes.
When it is the tool for the job. When it could point out something that's like, that is the thing you've been missing the whole time. And so there's I think I said in a couple podcasts ago, I'm like, I don't like how people talk about shadow functions. Like I actually almost kind of disagree with most of how people are communicating or talking about them. And I didn't talk about shadow functions for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think I, on some level, sort of understood, like my unconscious understood this. Don't talk about them until you're living through the material, right? Until they are having an effect on you. And I don't mean research. I mean like until they are changing you. Don't talk about it until you're changed by the concept. And I don't think people really should talk about it without talking. I mean, you can teach the concept, but I don't think you should be talking about it unless you're also talking about how you're changed by it or the weight of it.
So let me see if I can speak to this a little bit more in a real way for me. So let me say it was made aware to me recently that in conversations on a pretty regular basis, I was injecting chaos into words that were being said between people, myself or another person, or even a dynamic, like a group dynamic, I would throw non sequiturs in, or I would break data rapport between people. I thought I was being funny. I thought I was adding levity to the conversation. I thought I was kind of, helping keep it carbonated, but it's been reflected to me that it's actually taking from the conversation. So I'm like, So I had to get past my immediate resistance to this being told to me, going, no, it's not. It's adding value. I had to get through that. And then I had to go, okay, I can't deny that other people are saying it's not adding value. I've already tried that to say, no, it adds value. And they say, no, it doesn't. And I've already had that argument. So I get past that and I realize, oh, wait, this actually is taking something from the conversation. Not all conversations, but enough to where it's becoming a pattern. So I've made this aware of myself. Well, I'm starting to think in terms of, okay, where's this coming from? Why am I doing this? In some ways, I think it's to keep control of a dynamic. Like it's to keep control of the conversation. So I'm always in charge of how it goes with people, right? And is it just to control it to be in control? No, I tell myself my motivation for controlling the conversation is to make it interesting to an audience of one, which is me. As long as it's interesting to me, I never have to deal with stuff like small talk and blah, blah, blah. So I'll throw data breaks, like I'll break data rapport, and I'll throw a bunch of non sequiturs, and I'll interrupt a question with another question to steer the conversation. And I'm often trying to, I guess, put these on my terms so I can enjoy being in this conversation so I don't get bored. And I tell myself that it's also benefiting other people so no one gets bored, whether that's true or not. So then I keep going down that road a little bit more, and I'm realizing, oh, that could be one reason. Another reason is just when I'm in the realm of information and conversation, it's data, information flying back and forth. Well, that puts me on a personality map, let's say Dr. John Beebe's map, into the archetypical energy of my 7th cognitive function. All right, I'm going to be going down into introverted thinking or accuracy. Well, we know introverted thinking or accuracy doesn't have trickster energy, but in my life, in my personality system, it's associated. Often when it's activated, it's also activating trickster energy along with it, which is an archetype that we all have inside of us. That Loki kind of trickster, kind of tricky. And I often am doing it almost as a childlike trickster that can't be mature enough to have a real data conversation. I'm almost undermining it, and I'm putting us into double binds. I'm basically making it so that we either go the direction I just kind of hijacked, or we stay with what it is, but it's going to feel bad either way. Like often in conversation, I'm making it feel bad no matter what's happening. So that's something I've had reflected back to me. I don't like any of that. I don't like knowing any of that about myself or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But this is what is being reflected back. And I've already thrashed through some of the initial, like, no, it's not happening. Okay, it's happening, but it's beneficial. Okay, it's happening, and maybe it's not totally beneficial, but sometimes it is. Okay, it's happening. It's not always beneficial. And I'm actually creating double binds for the people I'm in conversation with and making the experience lower. Okay, it's like, and I keep pushing the envelope to say, what can I do? And so now I'm actively trying to stop doing this in conversation. It's been made aware. It's in my ego now. So I'm trying to develop it and not like keep doing this behavior, right? So I'm aware of it, so I can work on it.
Yeah.
This is what you're speaking to. Like, unless you're ready to do what I'm talking about, shut the F up, is what you're saying.
No.
About shadow function.
Well,
stop teaching them like you know what's going on. Stop talking about it. Is that what you're saying? Like,
I mean,
how should somebody come to this? Should they approach it the way I'm doing it? Give me instruction. Like, how could somebody think about this? Well, I'm being real hyperbolic on purpose.
Well, you're teeing me up to talk about thoughts as opposed to my personal experience, which I was about to share.
By the way, I might have just done a trickster move just then.
You might have.
That might literally be in real time.
Have been an example of it right there. You're like, yeah, which is like,
I kind of put you in this bind of what you got to answer now.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. Good job.
That's crazy.
Way to illustrate.
I'm like sitting here thinking about that for a second, like,
As opposed to whatever direction I was going to share myself.
We'll just ignore her. Yeah, share yourself. Share yourself.
Well, and
don't let my little trickster put us in a bind.
I will reflect back. Thank you. Actually, I will reflect back. That's actually the opposite of how the political parties accuse each other of rationalizing poor behavior, which is that if I remember the meme is it's not happening. Well, if it's happening, it's because it had to happen. Well, it's happening and it's good for you. And then like, oh, everybody should be doing that or something, right? Isn't it like a sequence of those? And what you just said was like the opposite of that. It's not happening. It's like, oh, maybe it is happening. It's like, it's as opposed to the rationalization and the...
I'm de-rationalizing.
You're rationalizing, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. My version
it's really
of this,
hard though, by the way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sucks.
Oh yeah, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, it's like, we call it thrashing.
I hate it.
It's that there's no other word for it. When you really get into deep shadow material, there's absolutely no other word other than just thrashing. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like you're just pushing against this, I don't know, it's almost like a, what are those things that people, like a straitjacket? Mm-hmm. It feels like you're thrashing against like you're trying to get out of a straitjacket. And it makes me think of the tarot card. Was it that? I can't remember if it's the Eight of Swords or whatever, but it's like the one where the woman's like blindfolded and she's bound. And it's like, it's all thought. You're bound by your own thought. And it almost feels like you're in this thing that you just have to resist. And actually, if you just kind of go, yep, that's what I'm doing, all of a sudden the blindfold falls off and the manacles fall off and you're like, oh, okay. You mean I get to just accept this, not rationalize it, not make it a good thing when it's not, but I get to just accept it and then work with it. And this is my version of that. I have claimed moral ground that I have not actually earned. This is my version, which is I have told myself stories about my own virtue and morality that is not accurate. And one of the things I learned about myself is that I am not naturally a person of relational integrity, meaning that I guess the phrase could be I'm energetically promiscuous, which means that because I have this like sort of sexual subtype energy inside of me, and I'll just bond with somebody so fast that I have to be very careful not to have that energy go an inappropriate way when I'm in a relationship with somebody. And I've always told myself when I was younger, I'd be like, I would never cheat. I would never do that in a million years. And as I have aged, I've watched myself get dangerously close and go like, oh no, I totally would.
Yeah.
I totally would. The only reason why I probably haven't is because I have like, there's like a legal definition of it, right? It's like you can watch yourself do it. But everything up into the legal definition, oh yeah, I've like bonded with people I shouldn't have bonded with and gotten way too close and then been thinking about them. And then now I'm in a crush and now I'm like, and you know, like I'm pushing 50 now, so I can talk about a whole adulthood of relationships and that sort of thing where I've watched myself do this.
Yeah.
But I've had to go, no, I have not earned the moniker of somebody who has natural integrity. I don't naturally have it, right? It's not like a core characteristic of mine that I could just claim. And I would say that this goes back to my introverted feeling, right? My introverted feeling seventh function as well, which was very tricksy. It was trickster on me too. It was like I would just find myself in situations where I'm like, how did I get here? How did I even find myself here? And it's because I told myself I would never do things.
Yeah.
Simply by claiming ground that I had not earned. And I had to go, oh, because I'm not the person I thought I was. I can become the person that I'd like to be. But I can't just say that intrinsically I'm a person of these, you know, this high moral ground. I have to watch myself. I have to keep a finger on the pulse of it. If I'm going to be a person of integrity, I can't just claim it. I have to actually like make sure that this tricksy part of me is not getting me in, you know, situations that are not okay, that could undermine my entire life. And so yeah, I mean, I would say that has been one of the, and I don't think I would have known that had I not gone down this path of going, okay, where does this really undermine me? And that was like one of the first thoughts that popped up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a place where it shows up for me. And I think, and that is actually life-changing, because what if I had done something that had destroyed my entire life because I just got sucked into the riptide of shadowy material, rationalizing the entire experience, blaming the people in my life as I was just taking these actions that were like the wrong actions to take, and then making it everybody else's fault and not my own, as opposed to recognizing that this was all coming from within. And so, and so we're not just talking about like, I mean, your example, I think, was a perfect example of the day-to-day. I think mine is an example of like life destroying tendencies.
Yeah.
And so I think it works on both levels. I think it works on both like a day-to-day operation, and then it also works on like the big decisions, the big weighty actions that we take. So I wouldn't say, what was the phrase you used? F you if you're not using them right.
Yeah.
I would never say
hyperbolic.
that. Yeah. But
clearly.
I mean, I think we want things to be in the collective unconscious. We want these kinds of things to be disseminated. We want people talking about them. But I think that we also should add like when a topic is weighty, don't turn it into something that's an intellectual curiosity.
Well, two things. One is, I think all of us in society get into these mass societal codependencies with each other. Mm-hmm. We don't like to be called on our stuff, so we don't want to call everybody else either. So we all kind of have this unspoken agreement, like, all right, I'm not going to like call you out on your stuff. You don't call me out on my stuff. And we all kind of agree to this as a society. So it's not something that's common. In fact, you're going to find good rationalizations anywhere. Like you can look it up, and anything you want to rationalize, we'd have material. I could rationalize why I interrupt conversations and do all this. There's some reason why I'm superior and I'm in a good place, and I could probably find something online to help me make a case for it. Right? Somebody's got something, I'm sure.
Chat will validate my choices.
Sure. At least ChatGPT will tell me I'm amazing.
ChatGPT will tell me I have a good point.
Oh, it's amazing, Joel. You're so good at disrupting conversation.
What an insightful way to think about conversations.
So I think that's the first thing, and I think it reminds me of like when we're at one of our personality life path mentorship events. We do those 8 weeks where we look at every one of the functions, shadow functions too. So we map it to everybody's personality, very specific to them. But then we have a 3-day, both in person and online, so you don't have to be there in person, event. And that's where we put everything together and create the systems map of your life and what you're going to do on your life path. Mm-hmm. And we have to tell all the attendees that are coming, all the students, clients that are there, please, 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 if someone is in the middle of thrashing, if something like shadow material is reflected to them and we're doing work with them, and it's not your thing, but you're feeling uncomfortable on their behalf because it's triggering things in you, please do not interrupt the process that's happening right now. You might feel really uncomfortable, but please let them have their experience because they might be right on the cusp of a breakthrough. Mm-hmm. And you're desperately trying to potentially, I don't tell people this directly, but I know what's going on. We're trying to wrestle things back into something that makes sense and makes us feel like we're not vulnerable. But this work that we're doing, this person over here, that's not me, I'm putting myself in the person's shoes, is making me feel vulnerable. So we ask people, would you please not do that? Mm-hmm. But I think this is happening in society all the time. When someone has maybe shadow material reflected back to them, and they're not in that clinical, kind of workshop format that you and I are doing with people, so no one told them, please don't interrupt the process. We all interrupt each other's processes. We might be right I've had people in my life, they're on the verge of having a recognition about something in their shadow, and someone will come through and go, no, don't see it that way, because they're covering their own shadow, right? They don't want to have, so they get us all back into codependency again. Mm-hmm. So this is really challenging. And what's going to end up happening is people get a map like John Beebe's, and then they say, let me teach you shadow how this works. Let me keep it clinical and thought-based so I don't feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And they may even I don't want to say dumb it down, but they don't have the full experiential end of it. They're just talking about the concepts of it. This is a bypass. This is a way to stay out of the actual material itself. Mm-hmm. And it's a really noble bypass because we can say, oh no, I'm looking at it. I'm defining it. I'm going down and I'm looking at these things, but are we really letting it hit us as people in a real way and saying, this is how I'm showing up and here's probably what's going on.
Yeah.
Without any and it's a good thing and here's how I'm doing good and here's it shouldn't blah, 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 whatever it is, or just go into the math of it. That's because my trickster's telling my blah, blah, blah to do this, and that's the behavior there. So I'm okay, right? Wink, wink. I'm not doing anything that's shadowy, and we try to get ourselves back in good footing. It happens. I do it all the time. So I know other people are too. No one's getting out of this alive.
I'm thinking about all those blog posts and article subject lines, which was like, I'm spiritually bypassing, and why that's a good thing. Why that's a good thing is one of my favorite phrases. You just nailed it. I almost kind of want to feel like a podcast done. We can all go home.
All right. Cheers to that.
Because you're totally right. That's what it is. It's a big codependent bypass. And I think the big challenge. Okay, here's what I'm coming to realize is the number one challenge of personal development. What we need is a moving target. What we need at any given moment for our own breakthrough, for our own recognition of what's really going on,
yes,
changes and alters depending upon who we are and where we're at in the timeline. So you can be in a space where you need nothing but gentleness. You're healing. You are raw from a terrible experience. You need love and nurturing and attention, and you need a safe space, and you need all the buzzwords, because in that moment you are healing from a trauma. And then if you're the same person in another moment in the timeline, or perhaps another person, that's the worst thing for you, because now you're being coddled. Now it's codependent behavior. Now you are rationalizing something that you need to contend with. And at that moment in the timeline, you need truth, and you need a sword, and you need to cut out the cancer. And you know you don't need it to be easy and a safe space. You need it to be confrontational, and you need it to be like calling you on your shit, and you need it to be maybe this like very intense experience, or maybe just a hard experience of that timeline, where the worst thing is to have a quote unquote safe space. And an onlooker that is going through their own moments that goes, I want a safe space, or perhaps I need a safe space, will then observe somebody else going through a thrashing moment where they need a sword of truth, right? And they'll go, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to create a safe space. And now they have disrupted somebody else's come to Jesus moment, which is exactly what they needed for the growth and development. And it's so hard to know, especially since for some reason we are non-contextual thinkers. We get an idea in our head and we go, oh, that's what's needed. Always. Oh, that's what's needed. That's what's needed. Right? Which is this like this diagnostic on the world in every situation. And what's crazy about it is that looking at how reality works, it always goes in cycles, right? We have seasons, we have time periods, we have developmental processes we go through. What we needed at 7 is not the same thing that we need at 14, and it's not the same thing we need at 21 or at 28. Like we need something different.
Yeah.
In all of these moments. Like if you get the same treatment at 30 that you got at 13, it's a major issue, right? Because you need something very different. And so we'll only understand this in terms of maybe like intellectual maturity, but we won't get that we need this in terms of growth and development. Like what will mature the vine when it comes to fruit, right? When it comes to actual fruitage from trees or vines or in farms. Like sometimes you need to turn the earth over. Sometimes you need to overwater. Sometimes you need to do the opposite. Sometimes you need to just raise it to the ground and let it rest for 7 years. Sometimes you need to, there's a lot of different things we need to do to tend the earth and the soil to get food. Why wouldn't we have to have that same variety inside of us? And so that's the other piece, is that really going deep into all of this material also tells us whether or not we're coddling ourselves or whether or not we're being too hard on ourselves. And in some ways, only we know. Yeah. But in other ways, we're the last ones to know, because we're also trying to make our experience as homeostatic as possible. So it's all very complicated. There's no easy answers here. There's no easy answers in growth and development. To do it honestly and to do it in a rich, seasoned way, you have to understand the weight of it all. You have to understand where you're actually at. You have to be modest, and you have to do true waypoints. And it's hard. It's so hard.
Yes.
So...
Well, this is what I love about personality type, is it gives us a map, but the map isn't good enough on its own. Mm-hmm. It gets away from labels. ENFP is a label. Mm-hmm. You slap on me. It can help me a little bit. It gives me some information, but it doesn't really tell me my developmental path. And it certainly doesn't tell me the ingredient base that is my psychology that's showing up to situations, right? But when I have the map, I now have the map, but the map also needs to be traveled. Like the map is not the territory. It's just a representation of myself. I still have to go to these parts and test them. This is what we do in our PLP. This is one of the reasons why we do it. You can have the map and know cognitively what your functions are, but we tend to go each week, we focus on one function and we have you travel to that place. So now you have a reference point. Okay, I know when I'm on the map of extroverted sensing sensation, I know what that feels like. I know what my relationship is to it. I know how it shows up in my life. I know I tried an exercise this week and now I see that showing up a little bit. Okay, I have a sense of when I go to that place on the map, that's what it feels like. That's what it's like. And so now we have the map, but we've tied experience to all these places. Now we're prepared for all those dynamic things you're talking about, Antonia.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter, like, I need to, in real time, you and I have gone to Florida in the wintertime to escape the cold up here in Pennsylvania. And so the season, we knew where to go to get warm. We need to get warm. It's cold. It's January. Let's go for a couple of weeks to Florida and just take a quick break, right? And get some sunshine. Well, now in your life, it's like you confront something, a challenge in your life. You've been to all these little parts of the map in a test way. You know where those parts are. You have the map. You know there's sunshine somewhere and you need help. Oh, I just go to that part of my personality. I've been there before. I know what that feels like. I know what that's like. And so now you have this optionality. You've got this flexible, dynamic experience through the world. You're equipped for no matter what. You don't need an axiom outside of yourself or some external structure. You are carrying your resources from within.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's a very subjective, contextual experience as far as I'm concerned, because life gives me something new every day. I can't do life like I did yesterday because it's a brand new day. And in a way, I'm a brand new person. Yeah. And so having the map and traveling that territory shows me what I need to pull on today to meet the day for its own challenges. Yeah. Not what I think those challenges will be.
Yeah. To steal and modify slightly a quote from my friend Aranio Paez, all personal development work requires more than one tool.
Yeah.
It all requires more than one tool. It requires more than one function. Right? To understand ourselves requires more than our ego-syntonic functions. It requires more than our ego-dystonic functions. It requires more than cognitive functions. It requires more than understanding a timeline. It requires more than processing unprocessed material. It requires us to step up no matter what, and we have to be totally committed to whole self, to what Jung would call whole self. And I have dropped the phrase, I want to be the best version of myself. I'm not sure when I stopped saying that. I just know that it didn't feel true anymore, because I don't want to keep judging. I don't want to keep judging where I'm at as not the best version. If I'm the most me, I'm the best me. So I started saying I want to become the most me. And
well, that takes away the future orientation of the best self.
Exactly.
Like you can have that right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait. The best version of me is a version maybe that is healthier. So I got to wait to be the best version of me until I go and I work out or something, right? Let's say I just decide that.
Yep.
Or a best version of me is one that has more money in the bank or has X circumstances. That's the best version of me. So I'm working toward that.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit more accepting. It's the most me, and I can be the most me right now in this exact moment.
Correct.
What is the most me today?
Right. But it also means that I have to keep, I can't rest on my laurels. I can't get lazy, because the most me tomorrow is going to be slightly different than the most me today, because I'm going to be slightly different tomorrow. So I have to stay on my game and not blame myself or shame myself for not being the best version of myself right now. And I'm okay if I'm not the best version of myself, because the best version of myself is not the whole picture. Right? An ascended version of me is not the whole picture. It doesn't take into account the descended parts. And so I want to be the whole me. I want to be the most me. And that rings more true inside. So anyway, I guess we kicked on the mics, and I just really wanted to talk about what I think is the actual goal to understanding John's 8-function model. The actual goal isn't math. It's not theoretical. Yeah. It's not being able to get even more in the system. And in fact, I kind of eschew seeing type in a complicated way.
Yeah.
I want type to be as simple as possible so that it is practical, so that I'm using it. Because there's a lot of things you can mentally masturbate to. And I think some stuff that you can mentally masturbate to is actually even more interesting than type. So if I'm just going to use it for that purpose, I actually might switch. I would switch subjects. I'd go to something that's way more interesting than just type, right? But it's not meant for that. It's not meant for me to like think about how smart I am and how much I've mastered a bunch of stuff and look at how much I've I've been able to pick up. It's like the credibility booster as far as I'm concerned. The true symbol of having achieved when it comes to this should be who I am and how I show up.
Yes.
Not what I'm capable of talking about. Right? I should be telegraphing it in my energetic signature all the time. That's the actual communication of why type matters. And when people say, how do I get people in my life to be interested in type? How do I get my friends and family to be interested? The answer is have them watch you, mold yourself into the truest version of who you are possible, and I guarantee they'll ask, I'll have what she's having.
Yes.
I want what you have. How have you changed so much? And if you say, well, there's a lot of different things, but I think the game changer was this model, that will be interesting.
I give our students a big challenge at the end of profiler training often. I've been doing this lately. The very last day after they've done the profiling session, we've spent 5 days together. It's been like this big experience. Everybody's really happy and they've accomplished a lot. I sometimes will end with this closing message to say, you know that person in your family that represents the worst of their personality type? Your Uncle Bob who comes to like a holiday dinner and is like the worst version of fill in the gaps of whatever type it is. Just, I mean, literally I don't want to say any type because you have this person in your head. Uncle Bob or Aunt Susan shows up to the...
You're always picking on Uncle Bob.
Like the family event, right? And
Yeah.
and they're the worst example of this, like they're the most stereotypical worst example of this personality type, whatever it is.
Like
And
a human meme.
It's a human meme. They're like all the worst traits of this, like they're the stereotype of this type. They're what people would use to say, ooh, gross. This is like the worst type ever. And you have almost that type conflated with them in your mind, right? You say, when you think of this personality type, you think of your Uncle Bob or Aunt Susan or whoever this person is in your life, friend, family, coworker, that represents this awful type, right? This awful type that you have.
Yep.
Well, somebody has you in their mind representing the type that you are. Don't be the awful type for them. That's my encouragement. Don't be the stereotype that is just, oh yeah, well, I see all their behaviors coming a mile away. Look, they're XYZ type. And of course they're going to behave this way. Stereotype, 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 stereotype. In fact, surprise them with the opposite. Become such a good version of that type. They even question the type that you are. They go, you can't be that type because I know all these stereotypes.
Yeah.
And you actually have done so much work that you're showing up, working to actually be an example when people hear that you're that type, like, wow, well, maybe I actually like that personality type. That's an amazing personality type because of you. You're a representative that makes me think the opposite of the Uncle Sue or Uncle Bob situation. I wish everybody was like you that's that personality type.
Yeah.
And make them almost desire everyone to be like you.
Yeah.
That's my encouragement to you if you're watching or listening. Go through life assuming that you're the example or the avatar. You're the only person that person might see as the example of your best fit personality type.
That's right.
And if you go through the world doing that, I think with that framework, I think that helps you think in terms of, okay, what am I actually living here? Not just knowing. How do I get past the things that are quote unquote stereotypes that would be my personality type?
Well, and the metric for that is that you encourage other people to feel peace around you.
Yeah.
And by peace, I mean regulated.
They feel centered.
They feel like when they're in your presence, they experience the most them in that moment. There's no affectation. There's no self-denial. Like if you show up and you're truly in the place that we're talking about, people will not, they will relax around you.
Yeah.
There's an amazing Tokapa Turner quote who, she's a Jungian and a Sufi. And she basically says that when a person has truly accepted their shadow, other people relax in their presence because they can sense that there's nothing that is denied in you. So there's no reason to deny anything in themselves either. And that's your metric. Your metric is that when other people get around you, they find themselves accepting themselves. And it's a relief, right? That's the peace comes from the fact that it's a relief, that they're no longer rejecting anything inside of themselves because you're modeling what it looks like to not do any self-rejection.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, if you can get to that place, you have done Jung proud. You have understood the point of all of these systems. You have honored what John is trying to accomplish. And then it's not just math.
Well, I feel pretty complete. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
I feel very complete too. You've mentioned both personality life path and profiler training, and I think I want to take a moment to say that these are programs that I believe in to the center of my being. And I don't believe in them because they're good. I believe in them because they are designed to do what we're talking about. And I know that there are people who listen to the podcast where it's on their bucket list, that they really, they really want to come to a live event in some form. And I know other people who won't take them because they don't want to come to a live event. And to both people, I would say, for the people who have it on their bucket list, do everything you can to get there. You can tell that it's going to change your life, and I believe it will. So that's to those people, like, I get it's on your bucket list. Do everything you can to get to one of those events. These are not small things we're talking about. These are game-changing things.
PLP's online too. The event is both hybrid, so you don't have to come in person.
You should, right? It's infinitely better if you can, but you don't have to. And to the people who go, oh, that's interesting, but I don't want to travel. I don't want to come to a live event. I can't communicate to you what you're robbing from yourself. Like, it's hard to say, it's hard to express and communicate, and people don't know until they go. It's not until they actually go to one of those where they're like, why did I wait so long? Why didn't I give myself the gift of this experience? And I wouldn't say this if I didn't watch pretty much almost everybody who comes to either of these events have a game-changing experience in their life.
Yes.
Now, sometimes people don't because they're not ready for it. That does happen. Every once in a while, somebody's not ready for it and they go away and they're like, yeah, it was cool, but if you are even kind of ready for it, if there is something inside of you that you can feel is like, it's almost like an inner agitation that there is something next or more. I cannot oversell those programs. If you're a fence sitter, ride the fence no longer. And I also say that even though we don't have any reason to believe we won't continue to do profiler training. We don't have any reason to believe we won't continue to do personality life path. I am recognizing and understanding how much things change on a dime.
Yeah.
And how many opportunities I have allowed to go by because I just sat and waited. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be there for many years to come, but I also thought that about other things, and the antelope ran by me on the Serengeti and I didn't get a shot. I didn't take my shot. So if you're listening and you want to do either one of them, particularly personality life path, particularly that one, but I would say profiler training as well. What an amazing program. Don't sit on the fence for too long, because sometimes you don't get to take the shot at all, and then later on, I mean, well, the sad thing is you might not even know to kick yourself because you won't know what you were missing.
Yeah, so, like one of those black swan things, right?
You got it.
You don't even know what it would have been different.
Yep.
Also, if you're not ready for maybe a bigger program, we do have personality owner's manuals for all of the 16 personality types. It's a great place to start. It's an easy place to access what we do here at Personality Hacker, and it does get you down the road starting on this idea of setting up a life that's ergonomic for you. Helps you get in flow more, but it also helps address things, parts of your personality that are uncertain, sometimes hijack you. Mm-hmm. Right? They pull your chain from the shadows, and it's nice to know what those are so you can work with those energies rather than let them hijack you in those. So I recommend coming over to personalityhacker.com and getting an owner's manual for personality type, or check out PLP or Profiler Training, so Personality Life Path or Profiler Training. While you're there, or on YouTube, or what platform of your choice you're
wherever
using.
You happen to be.
Wherever you're using. I'd love to hear more about what's coming up for you in this conversation. Do you have that experience of recognize your unconscious and shadow at one point, you realize, wait, there's more going on here than I knew. Maybe you have an Imago relationship, so you've seen that pattern. I'd love to see how you've noticed this. So have you noticed it? When did you notice it? And what's the little story behind it? Go ahead and leave a comment. Let's get a conversation going around this here at Personality Hacker. I think this is important to have the community involved in this as well. We're going to continue to find ways for the community to be able to talk more and give more feedback. Until next time, my name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And we'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker podcast.